But as analysts have seen, and as we have seen from the politics of the last couple of weeks, is that more or less is narrowing down to a 3-horse race. But let's not write off the others. We have Samuel Mushina, we have Sami Kamau Ngodo of DCP, Wilson Kiwa of Jubilee. But we will be looking at the matters and everything that is surrounding this by-election. Remember that all eyes are on all Kalou. I covered the Mbere North by-election, and I can tell you this is quite big. The Mbere North by-election and the campaign that's there are not as charged as we have now. So we'll be looking at the governance issues surrounding that, and we'll also be keeping tabs with what is actually happening. JJ Kyoria is also keeping tabs with what is happening, and also my colleague Giverson Minor is also in all Kalou to ensure that we keep you afloat with all the latest happening. Remember, voting closes at 6 p.m. but anyone who will be in the voting in the polls by 6 p.m. Will also be allowed to vote. My name is Bentro. Enjoy. Many thanks indeed for joining us, and let's continue with this conversation and see whether we will have a new member of parliament for all Kalou by the close of business today. Allow me to introduce my panelists who have already arrived in studio. Thank you indeed so much for making time, and because you know very well that this is a matter of governance, matter of politics, matter of political parties, we are honored to be hosting CPA Agatha Wahome, who is the Assistant Registrar of the political parties. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much, Ben. And
yeah.
Good morning, Kenyans.
And just next to her, we have Leo Kafafa, who is a public policy analyst, political analyst, and also a governance expert, and is also an aviation expert. A lot is happening, by the way, in aviation. Was Kenya Airways and KQ, I'm quite sure.
Yes.
Some things good, because at the end of the day, we've heard that we also need to separate matters governance and politics, because sometimes they also end up hurting our economy as well. Mm-hmm. Maybe we can start there.
Yeah, thank you, Ben, and thank you for having me, and good morning, viewers. Yes, you've just touched on Kenya Airways. Of course, it's a favorite topic of mine. There's fantastic news coming in from Kenya Airways. This week they've officially started flights on their 777 aircraft, which is a big deal for Kenyans. If you followed the news recently, that 777 had been on loan, had been on lease to Turkish Airlines over the past 10 years. And it has now recently come back. They've completed the process of deregistering it in Turkey and registering it afresh here in Kenya. And the first flights, I think, to Mombasa started yesterday, if I'm not wrong. I think I was on one of those flights, by the way. It's a fantastic addition to the KQ fleet. It's a 400-seater plane. It's going to deal with much needed capacity, the capacity issue that KQ has been having. This plane is going to deal with it, and we are looking forward to seeing it servicing the Nairobi-London sector. So that is great news. KQ is building capacity. I think they are working closely with the government to ensure that they get the requisite funding that they need to expand and to operate profitably. I think profitability is in the not too near distance.
Yeah, because future. Kenyans are really waiting. It's been years.
Yes, it's been a long time, but the support is there. The requisite support is now there.
Okay. Yeah. And straight to the conversation, I'm looking at the All Kalou by-election. It's attracted national interest. And why is it? Is it simply a contest of local politics, or is it a political referendum? I would like to pose this question to Madam Agatha, because it has attracted a lot of interest. As I mentioned earlier on, I did cover the Mbere North by-elections, and they weren't as charged and did attract as much attention as these by-elections.
Thank you, Ben, for that question. And indeed, All Kalou has really attracted a lot of attention. But you realize that unlike Mbere, we are more closer to the general election. And the closer we get, the more interests it arouses to participate in electoral processes. And I could say that it is a good thing when Kenyans become interested in politics, because it is a constitutional right guaranteed in the Constitution, and it is also an obligation that they have to participate in electoral processes. So I think if you are able to maintain that interest, it would really open up. the political space for more understanding and for more appreciation, even by Kenyans, and not just on voting, but even on participation when it comes to the political parties level. And as you realize, if political leaders mostly, and generally leaders in our country, most of them come from the political parties. We are still not yet in that space where independent candidates are more than the political parties. And therefore, it would be a good thing if Kenyans are able to participate at the political parties level, so that the leaders that are produced at the political parties can be good enough to serve this country as national leaders. So I think it is a conversation that we can continue having on political participation, not just during the pre-election and election period, but throughout the electoral period. Thank you.
Leo, I'm still going to ask the same question because if you look at the dailies, if you look at the social media, talking about the litmus test, if you have seen that word, could it be a litmus test for the control of the mountain for 2027 general election, or because we are closer to the general election, just like Madam Agatha has mentioned, it has attracted a lot of interest. I would like to pick your mind in regards to the same, because if you ask me about a litmus test, we've had by-election in other parts of the country, but we haven't talked about this a litmus test on the northern part of Kenya. We had by-elections in Isiolo. It's not the mountain. We had one in Mbeere North. We had one in Western. But we didn't talk about any litmus test in terms of political parties and control.
If you ask me if we must use the phrase litmus test, this would apply essentially to two of the main parties that are contesting this election, and that is Jubilee and the DCP party. Essentially because these two parties are fighting for a constituency, and the constituency is ethnic. They are fighting for supremacy on the mountain, because the perception around this country is that the mountain is up for grabs. If I circle back to the last election, you realize that the mountain, that is that constituency called Mount Kenya, or Central Kenya if you so will, voted with the government of the day, that is UDA. And there was a fallout subsequently, and a section of that mountain feels disgruntled and feels that they want to chart their own course away from UDA. But even within that section that is has so quote-unquote fallen away, there are still divisions, because there's a fight for supremacy between DCP and between the Jubilee party. So this litmus test is not so much measuring up UDA to the others, because UDA has proven itself. And as you've rightly said, we've had other elections, quite a number actually, and in all those by-elections, I think UDA has more or less carried the day in most of them, at least in about 95% of the elections that we've had so far. This one then is a little different, because this particular constituency, or Kalou, that is being contested, is not a UDA stronghold. I think in the last, the candidate who occasioned this by-election ran on a Jubilee ticket and won the day. So this constituency has never been part of the UDA stable. It's away from the UDA stable. So if UDA does prevail at the end of the day, it's a plus for them. It proves that what they've been doing all along is working, and they're able to carry the day. If it does not prevail, it's still no sweat off their skin, because it was never theirs in the first place. But for UDA, DCP and Jubilee, that's where the supremacy contest is, and that's where the litmus test really is, to see who has the heart and the soul of Central Kenya.
Madam Agatha, I'm looking at your role, your office in this by-election, and how does it complement the work of IEBC?
The Office of the Registrar of Political Parties is in charge of registration of political parties, regulation, and the administration of the political parties fund, summarized as stated in the Act. And as an office, most of the work come way before the real election. And one of the key roles of the office is to certify the membership registers or membership lists for the political parties, which are used during the nomination processes and are also forwarded to IEBC for purposes of the IEBC candidate registration processes. So that is one of the key roles that the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties play. The other thing is that the office is also in charge of training the political parties' agents on their roles and responsibilities when it comes to the election day. These are the people who have been entrusted by the parties or the candidates for purposes of checking the process. They are the eyes on the ground when it comes to checking the electoral processes on behalf of the candidates and on behalf of the parties. So a few days before the election, we take them through a training just so that they can be in tandem with the electoral processes, and they can also be able to carry themselves properly when it comes to their role in the elections. The other thing is that during the candidate registration processes by IEBC, we also participate in confirming that those candidates actually belong to political parties, including their proposers and their seconders. And when it comes also to independent candidates, as much as the office is not in charge of independent candidates, we have a role to confirm that the independent candidates do not belong to any political parties, and so is also their proposers and their seconders. And coming into the election, we have monitors on the ground on the election day just to observe and see how the political parties and the political party candidates carry themselves out. And this is important in terms of ensuring that the lessons that are picked from the ground inform decisions of either policy or sensitization, and even in terms of how to engage better with political parties as a regulator going forward.
Okay, just to hold the thought, as you can see on your live feed, that is a live feed from All Kalou AC Primary. That is the governor, the Nyandarua County governor. He's casting his ballot. I don't know whether he'll be offering or we'll be giving an interview in regards to the same. But early on, as you've heard, the UDA candidate, he voted early on, a little bit early on, and he exuded confidence. So far, so good, if you ask me. We have seen, although we have had voter apathy when it comes to by-elections, we are still following up on what exactly is happening. So far, so good. Of course, the police have said that they have even mounted some of the roadblocks to ensure that they be able to control the crowd. And even IEBC said that as soon as you complete voting, you should exit the polling station and wait for the results. That the governor there having some photos and also casting his ballot. Well, let's wait and see whether he will be able to give us an interview as soon as he has completed voting. But still on the same, still on your point, how are you ensuring that parties adhere to the Constitution? We have not had any issues on the nomination, but when it comes to the campaigns themselves, I think Kenyans have seen that they are not being conducted in the right way. And even IEBC has alluded, even said that if things remain the way they are, we must be forced to postpone this election.
One of the ways that as an office we are looking into compliance by the political parties is through their constitutions. Because before a party is registered, it's required to have a constitution that is a party constitution that is compliant with the Act, and election and nomination rules, which they shall employ when it comes to nomination of candidates for the election. But beyond the nomination and the constitution, we also have how would I put it? We have our office carrying out continuous compliance checks when it comes to a campaign. We have officers on the ground, and as much as they may be thinly spread, they monitor the activities of political parties even as they go on with their campaigns. And we also have the Political Parties Liaison Committee, which is a committee that brings together different all political parties actually, together with the IBC and the ORPP. And in that forum, parties are able to sit together and speak to each other directly on the same table. And it is in such forums that when people speak together, they are able to come up with better ways of working. And this includes drawing campaign schedules that are not conflicting and that would not result into violence during the campaign periods, and also in terms of ensuring that they adhere to the campaign timelines that have been set by IEBC. So it is a concerted effort, not just from IEBC, but also from the political parties themselves, and the continuous monitoring by the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties.
Leo, we have seen very low voter turnout, and especially when it comes to by-elections. Yeah, of course, some people cannot travel, some people have work to do, but we are looking at the very low voter turnout. In Mbeere North, it was less than 50%. And looking at the young people, I remember getting some views from the voters, but there were no young people. And looking at those pictures, we are not seeing the young generation. They came out 2 years ago, and even last year, they came out strongly to show that they really need to have a space in governance and leadership. But looking at those lines, we are not seeing the young people.
I think young people have not moved beyond their rhetoric, the rhetoric of bringing change into this country, utilizing their numbers. I think for them, I mean, trying to understand the mind of particularly Gen Z, they would prefer a situation where voting is done perhaps electronically, you know, where they can sit in the comfort of their houses and push a button on their phones and cast a ballot. But we are not there yet as a country. We don't have the sort of systems that can enable you cast your vote remotely. And we will not be there for the foreseeable future, because such an undertaking is expensive. So these young people need to be told that they really have to do the hard work that the rest of us have done over the decades. They need to register first of all as voters, then they need to turn up when we have by-elections. Not only for members of parliament, but even lower down to the grassroots, down to the MCA. They really need to know who their MCAs are, and then move upwards actually to the very top. But we still haven't seen a significant change of attitude, which was my greatest misgiving, even over the last Gen Z movements that we had seen in 2024 all the way to last year, or actually at some point this year. My misgivings were that these people were all about rhetoric and psych and mass movement, but little when it came to the real action, when it came
because
to the
we didn't see big numbers or huge numbers when it came to the mass voter registration.
True, and that is where that's where the details really are when it comes to voter registration. Because without that voter registration, then there's absolutely no impact that these young guys are going to make, even with their sheer numbers. And I've urged them, actually, all the way from back in 2021, I've urged them repeatedly, telling them that the future really is in their hands, as Mandela would say. And what they need to do is to mobilize their numbers and make the change that they want to see done. But it has not happened, it has not materialized. There is a lot of apathy when it comes to the hard work of shoving and pushing and waiting patiently in the sun to sign up as registered voters. And not only that, to actually turn up on election day and queue for hours on end to cast their ballot. It's hard work. It's not easy. But for our generation, the older generation, who know that this is their civic duty and who take it seriously, those are the ones that you can always rely on to turn up time and again.
Madam Agatha, I'm looking at the campaigns, and to be very honest, Kenyans were not very happy with what they saw on TV and what we have seen on social media. We even have lost lives in regards to the campaigns themselves. And campaign conduct is always under scrutiny. We've seen IEBC crack its whip, and two legislators Honorable Gekaria and Wanjiko Mohia have already been fined because of electoral malpractice. What standards are parties expected to hold? And do you believe the fines that were given to these two legislators were deterrent enough as we head to the 2027 general election?
Thank you for that question, Ben. But before I answer that, allow me to weigh in on the issue of the youth.
Yes.
After the 2024 youth uprising, we and the partyless and leaderless rhetorics that came, we felt as an office that there is need to engage the youth more.
Yes.
And we have actually been trying to engage them to participate in electoral processes, because as much as the registration as a voter is low for the youth, it is even worse when it comes to party membership. And they have most of the youth felt that they do not need to be members of political parties, yet they wanted to influence the political parties. And we have been having programs just to try and bring the youth together, make them understand the importance of joining political parties and participating actively. And I can say that with the little steps that we have made, there has been some effort. But more importantly, it needs to continue as a long-term project for purposes of ensuring that people understand their role, people understand how they can be able to benefit, and how they can be able to influence decisions inside the political parties and inside the structures that have been set by our constitution, because that is what our constitution gave us, political parties as vehicles for electoral and political leadership. Having said that, when it comes to campaigns, there has been a lot of talk, especially, and we have seen also a lot on the TVs about campaigns in Olkarau, and some people have even been charged. But as much as I'm not in IEBC, I would like to say that the role of IEBC is not criminal in nature. Their work is to enforce the Electoral Code of Conduct. And IEBC sat, investigated, and determined those as the right amounts or right charges that they should inflict on these parties that have, or these people that have done one thing or the other that is not as per the Electoral Code of Conduct. But more importantly, it is a first step even in deterring others who may want to come and do the same malpractice.
The reason I'm asking this is because these two legislators belong to political parties who sponsored them to parliament. IEBC has cracked its whip, so it's only fair that even the political parties crack their whip.
The political parties are guided by the Political Parties Code of Conduct.
Yes.
And these malpractices are actually prohibited by the Code of Conduct. As an office, we have our teams on the ground, and they are doing fact-finding just to see whether there is any responsibility that can be placed on the political party itself, or it is an individual responsibility. And more importantly, it is important that when these things happen, Kenyans come out and put parties to account, both the parties and individuals, because you realize even when you want to take action, either as a registrar, either as IEBC, or even as judiciary, there has to be some proof. There has to be some evidence that have to be tabled and presented for the various institutions to be able to make a determination and a decision. So once we have all the facts laid, then we will call upon the parties to crack the whip on their own candidates and aspirants.
Leo, allow me to pick from where Agatha has left in regards to the campaigns. We have seen even bloodied because we have lost lives. We have seen destruction of property. We have seen maiming of even leaders. And as she has said, it's a first, and it's a good thing that IEBC has cracked its whip. I would like to pick your mind in regards to the same, because if IEBC has cracked its whip and, you know, said that, you cannot do this and even fined these legislators. Is that deterrent enough? Because we are heading to the 2027 general election. This is only one election, actually a by-election.
Yeah. Ben, what must be borne in mind is that it's not just IEBC's responsibility. Dealing with electoral malpractices, I think, is a multi-sector agency effort involving IEBC itself, of course, and you've seen, as you've rightly said, they've cracked the whip. It also involves the Inspector General of the police. It involves NCIC, it involves EACC, and in some instances where the police are found to be complicit or
apologies, Kafafa, allow us to just cross over to Ol Kalou, where Governor Moses Kalou By-election is currently addressing the press. He has just completed his voting at the Ol Kalou AC Primary School. Let's listen.
All is well, and I hope it's going to continue like this up to the end of exercise. Na niulize kwa sababu naona watu wamekuja mapema. Tukimaliza uchaguzi saa 11 kura zihesabiwe, tukilala leo tujue mambo iko namna gani. Na hiyo ndio italeta utulivu, na tutashukuru sana hiyo kazi ikiendelea kama tunavyoitarajia.
Has been Governor By-election there addressing the press just after he cast his ballot, and he's urging the Ol Kalou residents to come out in large numbers to vote, because as you have seen from the numbers themselves, they are not quite encouraging. But let's hope as the day unfolds, then the numbers are going to be increasing. Allow me to go back to your question, Kafafa, in regards to the campaigns themselves. Even we did see IEBC crack its whip. And we know very well elections, it's a multi-sectoral approach.
Yes.
So I believe, and it's always better when, more or less like the way we were disciplined in school, and when we go back home we are disciplined. Political parties should take the role now and also try to, whip their people into ensuring that they follow the rule of law.
Ben, the reason why I alluded to the fact that electoral malfeasance is approached through a multi-sector agency approach is because there are many moving parts that must come together before the whip is cracked in some quarters. Because sometimes from one lens, yes, you can see that this is glaringly an electoral malfeasance. But when you subject the same to other lenses, then you find that it does not contravene Article 81, which actually sets out the conduct of elections and how they are supposed to, and how parties and all stakeholders are supposed to conduct themselves. So we wait for that more informed position from other agencies other than IEBC. In fact, I think the IEBC fine, the couple of fines that have been levied so far, I think one has already been appealed, I think in a court of law, and it has been held in abeyance for the moment, as the matter is probably goes for determination before a court of law. So that's just one approach. So if you crack the whip on account of an action that IEBC has taken, and that has been stopped temporarily by a court of law, then you're jumping the gun, so to speak. So let's wait, first of all, for all the stakeholders, IEBC itself, of course, which has pronounced itself in the matter, the IG, NCIC, EACC, and IPOA, where, of course, police conduct is in question. So you'd rather have an informed position from a combination of all these stakeholders rather than jump the gun as a party to sanction your members over what may well turn out to be too much fuss about nothing.
Agatha, looking at the 9 candidates, they all belong to a political party. I don't think there's anyone who is doing it on an independent ticket. But I'm looking at how do you ensure political parties comply with the law? You're one of the major stakeholders when it comes to this by-election. And how much has civic education gone into educating the voters there?
One of the ways in which we ensure that political parties comply with the law is through capacity building and sensitization of the different organs within the political parties, the officials, as well as the leadership of the political parties. And when we come into organs, we mainly focus, or we pay a lot of attention, especially as we go to the general elections, into the internal dispute resolution mechanisms of the party, because those are the ones that come in handy in ensuring that there is discipline within the parties, and and as well as ensuring that matters of dispute are resolved at that level. But also when it comes to party compliance, we ensure that we do compliance checks on a continuous basis, actually at least one every quarter, just to ensure that parties are actually complying with the reasons why they came into force in the first place, and also the conditions for which they came into force or they were registered are also maintained throughout the cycle. And the registrar is able to issue notices and sanctions when those conditions are flouted. And but we work together with parties in terms of ensuring that they don't get to the deregistration or to the suspension level. But if it happens, we get there.
Yeah, all right. And I'm also informed that the DCP candidate is Sami Kamau Ngotho, who will be addressing, actually he's addressing, my director informs you that he is addressing the press right now. Let's first of all listen in. All right, let's get that feed clear, and then we'll be crossing over where Samuel Kamau Ngotho, the DCP candidate, he wants to address the press, and we are keeping our eyes and lenses peeled for that. But Leo, picking from where Madam Agatha has left in regards to civic education, and looking at how we have seen the campaigns being carried out, you know, let's be honest, I think the newest word in the Kenyan vocabulary has been Goonism in the last couple of months. And looking at the role that all the stakeholders, including IEBC, including the registrar of political parties that we have here, civic education is more than critical when it comes to matters of elections.
I totally agree. You mentioned the word Goonism, and there's been a lot of it. But let's look at Goonism, and we see who really benefits. I think there's a Latin word that says qui bono, you know, who really benefits from Goonism. And from where I sit, I do not see the government of the day or the UDA party really being a beneficiary of Goonism. For what? Like I said, this election is not strictly speaking a litmus test for them, but it's a litmus test between Jubilee and DCP for the control of central Kenya. We've seen some candidates from one of the parties, let me not mention, but anecdotal evidence has told us that there are some candidates, rather there are some parties, party leaders that have pronounced themselves about elections, and in a rather negative light. I think one of them even said that 2027 will make the post-election violence of 2007-8 look like a child's play. Yeah. And he's in the, I mean, those words are in the public domain. And those are words that could be construed to mean that there'll be election violence. And we've seen also a certain party leader again banning elements from other parties. From
Kindly hold a thought. I'm informed that Sami Kamau Ngotho is now addressing the press. Let's first of all listen in. Remember, he's a DCP candidate in the Kalou By-election.
Traveling, we wish them well, safe journeys to arrive here on time, so that every vote counts. That is what we want. Every vote must count. We must exercise that right that is there in our constitution, what we call universal suffrage. Let everyone have the right to vote. Thank you.
Are you confident of winning?
Well, I have done my campaign very well. I've put my trust in God. The numbers are very good from the exit polls, both from our side and even the side that we are competing with. The margins are very wide, and you'll see in a few hours. So, to answer your question, in the affirmative, it's an obvious yes.
Maybe you can tell us about an incident that happened last night where some people were attacked and some were
Same Kamau Ngodho, they are also exuding confidence in today's poll. Remember, he is a DCP flag bearer. Remember, the elections have 9 candidates, though many have talked about the front 3, that is DCP, UDA, and Jubilee Party. And just in case you joined us, it's a live coverage. We have my colleagues, 2 of them are actually in all Kalou to monitor that election, and we're also monitoring it right here. And allow me just to reintroduce my panelists, beginning from my immediate left. We have CPA CS Agatha Wahome, who is Assistant Registrar of Political Parties. Just next to her, we have Leonard Kafafa, who is a public policy analyst. Apologies for that, but there is something you were talking about in regards to Goonism.
Yes.
And we have seen it.
Yeah.
Basically, almost all the by-elections that we have seen, and even the campaigns.
That's right. Ben, we had also discussed, prior to the break, we discussed and said that there's that Latin phrase to the effect, cui bono, who really benefits from this Goonism. Mm-hmm. And with regard to this particular election, I do not see the UDA party benefiting from any form of violence, because for them it just simply isn't worth it. Mm-hmm. But the 2 quote-unquote antagonists who would benefit from the violence would be the DCP party and the Jubilee party, because for them it's a supremacy contest. Yeah. Then I also mentioned that certain elements in one of those parties, certain party leaders pronounced themselves, have in the past pronounced themselves about violence. They've even alluded to the fact that 2027 may make 2007 look like child's play. I mean, that is in the public domain. And that obviously is a subtle threat, and it points to violence. Then we've seen also certain party leaders again issuing caveats or issuing warnings against other party members moving into Nyandarua to conduct their campaigns. Mm-hmm. And again, even when those warnings were disregarded, it resulted in violence. So for me, that's not the government of the day perpetuating the violence. I think it is something more insidious. It's something to do with parties within. Mm. Again, you've seen some of these antics actually become farcical. They become comical in a way, because you see somebody, a member of parliament, claiming that his car has been shot at several times, then running into a house, and then giving some presser, while appearing to be trembling. Yet this member of parliament has not reported the attack to the police. He has not made any complaints, official complaints anywhere, but he just alludes to violence, and he wants to claim that it's the government of the day that is perpetuating that violence. So a lot of these things are staged. A lot of this Goonism is funded, I think, by those who have more skin to losing this game than the government of the day. Yeah.
Let me pick from where Leo has left. I know IEBC has mentioned and has talked about it. The National Police Service has also talked about Goonism when it comes to political parties, political formations. How are you dealing with that? Because let's be very honest, these goons are either sponsored by the political party or by the candidates of the political parties themselves. Where are you cracking the whip here?
For the Registrar of Political Parties,
yes.
We are working together with other institutions, duty bearers. We have a working relationship with the NSCIC, the ORPP, and the police. And this is mainly for purposes of sharing information, as well as taking action against whoever is culpable. But as we speak, as Leonard has said here, when an offense is not reported, when there is no evidence, then it becomes very hard to execute and to separate the candidate and the party, the actions of the candidate and the action of the party. So it is thing that we must approach from a multi-sectoral perspective, so that as the office of the registrar, if we are actually able to prove that this is the action of the party, then we can be able to take the actions that are provided for under the PPA, the Political Parties Act. And the registrar who has the powers to issue notices, suspension, or even the registration of a party. But that has to come in a way that is proved, that is not witch hunt, and where we are not punishing the whole party because of one person's actions.
Leo, let's look at the funds that are being used, or the resources being used. Election is becoming very expensive in the country. Looking at how much money the political parties are splashing out for just an MP or even a civic ward. I also covered the civic wards in Mbeere North by elections. It's a lot, and it's locking out the young generation, is locking out anybody who does not have money. Let's go to Ol Kalou. For the optics, many have argued that the projects that have been initiated by the government, although the government has said, yes, indeed, we just are doing developments just like we do in other places. But I'll be very honest, even IEBC has raised concerns, even Kenyans have raised concerns. For the optics, it seems like a noble gesture, but some people may question why now, especially now that we have the by-election. The cost of doing election in Kenya is becoming extremely expensive.
Ben, good question. And yes, I agree that the cost of elections in Kenya is exorbitant. But that's not new. That is hardly new. That's what has been over the years. And as you're rightly putting it, to the extent that candidates who are not well-heeled are locked out of national elections. To an extent, it is a fault of the electorate. It is a fault of the electorate themselves, because the electorate allow themselves to be bribed or to be given goodies, allow their sovereign will to be subverted through interventions of those who hold the purse strings. So it's a fault of the electorate. As Agatha has said, there is a lot of civic education that is being done. And that continues to be done, I think, so that the electorate get to really know what their civic duty really entails. We are, in my view, we are still a long way off, because, as the Bible says, a poor man's wisdom is always despised. It's rarely appreciated. It's unfortunate, but that's what it is. I mean, all the way down from the MCA level. We see MCAs, anecdotal evidence again suggests that to be an MCA in this country, if you don't have about 5 to 10 million shillings, then your campaign is dead on arrival. To be a member of parliament, I think you need about 50 million shillings thereabouts. To be a governor, you probably need 200 million plus. To be president, you need upward of 5 billion shillings. So we have internalized that as a country. We have made it our new normal. And we then vote for the candidate for the highest bidder, so to speak. So it's something that we need to work on, first of all, as the electorate, rather than point fingers at the politicians who suborn us with these goodies. The issue is with us.
Yeah. Agatha, looking at the numbers that Leo is giving us for MCA, I can't even vie for an MCA, despite that I'm learned, I know what is happening, I know matters governance, I can speak to people, but I cannot afford that. So how do we cap that? Do you believe we should be capping election spending? Because I know IBC has tried to do some capping, but looking at those figures, they're still very, very, very high for just an election.
Yes, Ben, the amounts are very high. And the role of campaign financing sits squarely with IBC. And we have seen that they are doing something about it. And this has been a journey that IEBC has tried to make sure that there is campaign financing, but there are always issues when it comes to finishing the process, the legal process, for it now to be implemented.
But are you disturbed by the amount of money that are being spent for just a civic seat, just a parliamentary seat, governor and president, as you've had? And even if somebody earns 5 million per month, he cannot recoup that with a salary alone. So it just shows you that there's more than meets the eye.
It's true, the amounts are quite huge. And for me, I would look at it in terms of thinking at it from a very wide perspective. because when IEBC gives the campaign financing regulations or the guidelines and the laws, it is to protect the candidate, because you will spend less, you will not need so much, and it will also protect the voter. Protect the voter in this way, that if I have not spent so much money as a candidate, when I go into office, I will think about, I will be free, my mind will be free to work for you, instead of thinking how much I have spent. And as you've rightly put it, when you spend so much money and the salary is only this much, then you can see the disparity. So I think we need to approach it from the understanding of the candidate themselves, that this campaign financing is coming to make sure that they don't spend so much money. And also for the voters, just to look at it from the other side of the coin, that if this person spends so much and they are doing it because of me, then how well are they going to serve me when they get into the leadership positions? So for me, I would say it's a good thing that IEBC has made some steps in the direction of ensuring that we have proper campaign financing. Yes.
Let's just look at integrity, Leo, and let's be honest. We have members of parliament who have active cases in court. We have there's one who was convicted of corruption. I covered that case. He was taken to committee. He's a sitting MP. Allow me not to just mention him so that I'm not targeting him. He was sentenced at the High Court because of a corruption case. He was taken to committee. He spent a couple of weeks or months there. He did apply for appeal and was given bond. He's out in 2022. He went to the ballot. He's now a sitting member of parliament. I think, if you ask me, if we don't look at integrity, then we have questionable leaders everywhere we go. And we cannot just always be crying out corruption, you know, our MP is not doing ABCD. If we don't look at these people before we elect them.
Ben, Chapter 6 of the Constitution actually talks about the integrity of public officers. And it spells it out in black and white. But the dictates of that chapter have been, quote-unquote, subverted over the years, so that allegedly criminal elements are allowed to run for public office. And we see now that as long as somebody has been convicted but has an appeal at various levels of our criminal justice system, as long as the appeal has not been heard and determined at the highest level, so I mean at the apex court, then they still they can still run for public office. In my view, that's not what Chapter 6 intended. I think the framework of Chapter 6, if you look at the spirit, there's always the spirit and there's always the letter of the law. I think the spirit of that law intended that as long as you are publicly fingered in any corrupt practice, you'll be precluded from running for political office. But like I've said, it has been quote-unquote subverted and twisted to the extent that criminal elements, allegedly criminal elements, are now running for public office unhindered. It's sad. It's sad, but that's not what the law intended. Yeah.
Agatha, I'm looking at lessons from previous by-elections. What can we draw and apply here in All Kalou from where you sit from your office?
One of the lessons that has come from previous by-elections is low voter turnout, as you rightly mentioned it earlier. And it's something that is very costly in terms of the amount of money that has gone to prepare for that election and the actual number of people who come out to make it happen. And as an office, we liaise with political parties because there is a trend of Kenyans listening more to political parties than and the political leaders than to anyone else. Just to drum up for the by-elections, drum up voters so that they can be able to come out in large numbers and exercise their right to vote. And this is not just directly to the political parties that are participating in the election, but also to all the other political parties through the Political Parties Liaison Committee platform. And we hope that with the All Kalau we'll be able to see higher numbers resulting from this drama.
And actually, we are hoping that it's going to be very peaceful.
Yes.
Yeah, basically from what we've seen in the campaigns, we are just praying and hoping that the best man wins. Yeah, it's about a minute to 11 a.m. Just in case you joined us, we're keeping tabs with the All Kalou by-election. And so far, as you have seen, Governor Badilisha has already voted. And we have seen Samuel Mushina Nyaga voted earlier on. Samika Maungodo of DCP has even issued a press conference a couple of minutes ago. But when we come back, we still continue with this conversation. I have the Assistant Registrar of Political Parties, and we also have Leo Kafafa, who is a political and governance expert. When we come back, we still have more news, and also be crossing over to know exactly how the voting process is going on. You're watching Channel 1.
The wait is over. KBC Iko Huduma Center. Starting with Nairobi, kupata huduma za KBC imekuwa rahisi. From digital guidance and signet services to booking of commercial adverts and documentaries. Visit our dedicated desks at Huduma Center GPO, Times Square, Makadara, Kibera, or Eastleigh. Tunakungoja hapo. Whether it's a casual announcement or a specialized media solution for your business, we are here to serve you. KBC at Huduma Centers. Moving closer to you. Your station, your service.
Slim Nyarawendo SNA Radio Mayiga Mato Marwa.
Welcome back to KBC Channel 1. Many thanks indeed for keeping us company. We're keeping tabs with what is happening in All Kalau in the by-election. And let's first of all now hear what the Regional Commissioner Joshua Nkanata had to say a little bit earlier on in regards to the preparations and the exercise itself.
Hili exercise ya kupiga kura kwa hii eneo ya Olkarau imeanza asubuhi, na so far tunafurahia kutangazia Wakenya na watu wa eneo hili ya kwamba tunaanza kwa usalama na kwa amani. So hakuna mahali tunisikia kukiwa na shinda. Tuko kila mahali, na kazi yetu hasa ni kupeana usalama na kuhakikishia wananchi wa eneo hili ya kwamba usalama wao umehakikishwa na serikali. Tunataka kusema kwamba ama ku appeal to the citizens, wale hasa voters wa eneo hili wajitokeze kwa wingi, wakuja wapige kura, hakuna haja ya kuwa na uoga ama nini, wakuje wa exercise their democratic right so that by the end of the day ama wakati zoezi likifungwa watakuwa wamejichagulia mjumbe yao. Tunataka kusema kwamba vituo zote zile IEBC wanafanya shughuli zao za kupigisha kura, walituomba pia sisi tukapeana askari. Nafikiria kila kituo iko na askari wawili wa kusimamia kila stream, na so far so good. Mahali wananchi watakuwa na tatizo, tunataka kuomba wa report chochote kile waona akiwafurahishi katika kituo cha polisi kile kiko karibu na wao, ama kwa wale askari wako karibu wale mahali wako. Thank you.
Kuna kisa ambacho mwaniaji mmoja ambaye amepiga kura hapa anasema kilifanyika hapo jana, pengine uchunguzi ama nini, hatua gani ambazo mnachukua? Anasema kwamba kuna gari liliteketezwa likipeleka agents wake mahali.
Sisi kusema ukweli hakuna ripoti kama vitengo vya usalama tumepokea kuhusiana na kisa kama hicho, lakini kama litakuwa limeripotiwa katika vituo vyetu vya polisi tutafanya uchunguzi. Na tunaomba, kwa sababu tunasikia kuna wale hata wanaenda wakiwa hawana number plate kwa magari zao. Kila mtu ajue ni hatia kuendesha gari ambalo halina number plate, na maafisa wetu wa usalama wakipata gari halina number plate, basi hilo gari litashikwa na kupelekwa station. Tunasema asa polling station yaachiwe tu wale maafisa wa IEBC na wale wapiga kura na askari wale wako na kazi pale. Wageni wowote wale wengine wasipatikane katika radius ya 400 meters wenyeji. Lakini kama kuna mtu ambaye amekuja kwa nia ya kufuruga uchaguzi, huyo tutapambana naye tu. Tuko hapa kwa sababu ya hiyo tu.
That has been Joshua Nkanada, the Central Regional Commissioner there, just giving us a brief. Allow me just to point out a few things that he has mentioned. Is that in a brief is that security is up to date, has urged people to come out and vote and exercise their right. So far, so good. So no challenges so far, security-wise, that is. And also warning those who want to cause chaos that they will be met with the full force of the law. And he has also mentioned something. Allow me just to mention this, Leo, the vehicles with no registration numbers. This is something that we have also seen during the campaigns. And unfortunately, we also witnessed those vehicles when we were covering the Mbeere North by-election. So far, we do not know, no political party, no political formation has come out to say that indeed the numbers that lack the registration numbers, the vehicles that lack the registration numbers are either from any of the political divide. What security challenge does this pose? The reason being, he has mentioned that security is up to date, but looking at a constituency that has 73,000 registered voters, we have 1,000 police officers, and we also have the general election next year. This could be a security challenge?
Okay, let me start off with the fact that there are vehicles operating without registration. That's an illegality, straight up.
Yeah.
And any such vehicle, as I think the regional county commissioner has pointed out, should be impounded on site. There are no two ways about it. There are no questions about it. It cannot even be undercover policemen operating without registration. That is an illegality. But we do know that undercover policemen in this country operate with vehicles that are registered. I mean, rather with vehicles that have registration plates. Even though GK, I think they have an array of, an assortment of number plates that they get to use, and that can be traced back to them. So when you see one without plates, that's definitely not from officialdom. That's definitely not from the government. But about security, I think there's adequate security. I had one of the IEBC officials say that there are two police officers attached to every polling station within the constituency. And you do know that a polling station has a maximum of about 600 voters, thereabouts. Two policemen superintending over 600 people is adequate. When you look at it from a governance perspective, because internationally, the accepted ratio of civilians to policemen I think, is 450 civilians to one policeman. One police officer actually is supposed to superintend over 450 individuals. So if you have 2 policemen manning a polling station that has 600 people, it means the ratio then is 1 policeman to 300 people. That is adequate. And that should be what informs the arrangements going forward into the next elections, into the general elections of 2027, where we have 1 policeman per 300 Kenyans. Adequate, because that one solitary policeman oversees an area of about, rather the 2 policemen together oversee an area of about 400 square meters. That is adequate. But that also presupposes that citizens also have respect for the law. So the onus is also on citizens, because where there's no respect for the law, for the rule of law, then even if you poured 1,000 policemen to superintend over 600 individuals, it will be chaotic. So what is of importance is that citizens must also learn to respect the law and the rule of the law.
Agatha, still on the same, quite frankly, 1,000 officers for one single constituency. What does this say about our political culture heading to 2027? The reason I'm asking this is because if we do a simple math, we have 290 constituencies? If we have 1,000 officers per constituency, it's not even possible because we don't have those numbers. And looking at all Kalou, 1,000 police officers, how does this speak to our political culture as we're looking at 2027, which is just a year away?
For me, I think the police and the security organs are key when it comes to elections, because beyond the people, there is materials, the electoral materials that need to be safeguarded. And beyond the polling stations, there is also the tallying centers, and there is the people themselves, the returning officers, and the people who are basically doing the election. So I think they are a key player, and they enhance or ensure that there is security within our spaces. And even from the past, the National Police Service has never had challenges providing security for purposes of election, as much as we have so many polling stations which need at least 2 officers. And I would want to look at it from a positive perspective, where we would rather have security and there is no violence there and nobody loses their life, the materials are secure, than where we do not have and then we have problems. So as a key electoral player, I think the security forces, as we were also assured the other day by IG, are properly deployed, and we expect to have a good day and a very secure day.
The question will be, what will happen in next year's election, if at all we do an audit of our election and our campaigns and see that we could be having an all-Kalou situation where we will need 1,000 cops. We don't have those numbers to cascade to the 290 constituencies. We even don't have numbers for half of that.
My response to that would be that a by-election setup is very different from a general election setup, because right now all eyes are in all-Kalou. But come the general election, all eyes will be in all the 290 constituencies in Kenya. So the security situation may not be as bad as probably has been assessed for a by-election. Whereas we have so many members from political parties and leaders drumming up support for all-Kalou, come 2027, everybody will be in their constituencies trying to secure their seats, or minding the business of their areas, whether at the ward level, at constituency, or even at the county level. So I think the risk will be spread, if I may put it that way, and therefore we will not need such high concentration of security in one area. And that is where now we drew the difference between a by-election and a general election. But having said that, I think the security should be allowed to do their work. Yes.
All right, Leo, let's get to the politics of it all. The front runners, the three political parties, two are one of the biggest political parties in the country, that is UDA and Jubilee. And then there's the new kid on the block, that is DCP. Who has the most to lose from your assessment of politics? Who has the most to lose in case of either way? Because it can go either way. It can go actually 9 ways.
I think the one with the party with the most to lose is DCP. DCP, first of all, does not have a presidential candidate as we speak.
Yeah.
Jubilee have pronounced themselves. I mean, Jubilee have a party leader, and I think a nominee for the president has emerged from within Jubilee. For UDA, it's quite obvious that the incumbent will continue, will run for re-election rather. But DCP does not seem to have a presidential candidate. And DCP, as you're rightly putting it, is a new kid on the block. They have everything to prove. They have to fight to gain space, to gain valuable space. And if they lose, it means, and more so if they lose to Jubilee, it would mean that the position that they have tried to wrest from Jubilee as the de facto leaders of the Mount Kenya community will be completely lost, and that's an advantage. That's the advantage that they have enjoyed since their formation, being a party that purports to speak for an entire region. If that advantage is lost in a by-election, then it does not bode well for DCP. They are the ones with the most to lose. UDA has won a number of, I think, like we've discussed earlier, about 95% of the by-elections that have been conducted thus far. So for them, if they lose one more so, if they lose one rather, and more so in a strong, in an area that is not considered their stronghold, it's no sweat off their backs. It will be business as usual. I mean, they've already proved that they can deliver, having won other by-elections. So it's a tussle again between DCP and Jubilee Party. So whoever wins carries the day. Whoever loses, or whoever even becomes runner-up out of three, assuming that UDA carries the day, whoever then becomes runner-up becomes the de facto leader of Mount Kenya. But whoever loses, more so, whoever becomes number 3 after UDA, presumably, and after UDA, presumably, then has the most to lose from a region that is looking to these two parties.
And just marinate on this question, because indeed it's true, Jubilee has taken 95% of all the seats that have been the by-elections. A practical example is Mbeere North. Allow me to use this because I have all the numbers and I actually was there. The constituency, the former member of parliament there was the current CS, Geoffrey Keringaruko, who had won that seat on a DP party ticket. The two civic seats that were in Evurori and Mumenje ward, they were, UDA didn't get anything during the 2022 election, but it came and swept all these. I would like to pick your mind in regards to, as we head to the 2027 election, what confidence it gives the ruling party. But before then, allow me to ask Madam Agatha, in case of any electoral malpractices by the political parties, what sanctions can we expect from your office?
The registrar has leeway to put sanctions for breach of the code of conduct, and some of the sanctions depend. One of the things the registrar can do is to issue notices to the political party that they have done 1, 2, 3, and they need to correct on that. And of course, liaise with the political party on a continuous basis, just to ensure that whatever notice has been given has been fully implemented. The registrar may also issue warnings where the gravity of the matter is not so heavy. the registrar can suspend a political party, and once a political party has been suspended, it will have lesser rights than one that is fully registered, and therefore that makes that becomes a disadvantage for the political party. And even in cases where such a political party is enjoying funding from government, what we call the political parties fund, then that's, in some circumstances such funding may also be withdrawn. And the last thing the registrar can do is to deregister the political party where the political party is killed and stopped being in operation. So those are some of the ways in which the registrar can be able to crack the whip, especially when it comes to going against the code of conduct for political parties and also the act as a whole in general.
Allow me to put you on the spot on this question in regards to the sanctions themselves. You've outlined a number of sanctions that anyone who contravenes these laws can meet. Have we had any case studies of, because we saw IEBC did find the two legislators a couple of days ago. When it comes to your side, the political party, have we seen any cracking of that whip?
Yes, and I want to say that unlike the Electoral Code of Conduct, which only applies and within the electoral period, the Political Parties Act applies throughout the period. And the registrar may not have cracked the whip when it comes to electoral-related offences, but on a continuous basis, we have seen the registration happen, although the matters are in court of two parties recently, I think beginning of this year, for non-compliance with the Political Parties Act. And we also do compliance on a quarterly basis, just to ensure that the conditions for which you become a political parties are maintained. And after every quarter, we are able to issue notices to the political parties that you are not doing well here, you are not doing well here, and we give you timelines. And if you are not able to fulfill within those timelines, then the registrar can go to suspension, and that is what has actually led to the deregistration of the two parties that are in court as we speak. And some of them have, I think one of them has been reinstated by court. So it's something that happens on a continuous basis, even outside the electoral period.
Leo, to my question, how the political formations and the winner of it all today is going to shape up the 2027 general election. Yes, this seat also didn't belong to UDA. It's good to also acknowledge that it was a Jubilee party seat, but we have 3 players, of which, we have 9 players, but we have the front runners, the 3 front runners. How is it going to be shaping up the conversation, our conversation in terms of the vote-rich Mount Kenya block? Because, as I say, I believe this election is high stakes because of also the region that the by-election is in. Correct.
You're right, Ben, in the sense that it's high stakes on account of the region. My thinking is that the UDA party, or rather, let me talk about the government of the day. The government of the day is clawing back territory that it had lost. History reveals that incumbents are seldom popular within their within the first 3 years of their term of office. Essentially because many times they are forced to make very hard decisions for the benefit of the country, but that lead to hardship when it comes to citizens of the country. I'll give an example of Mwai Kibaki. When Mwai Kibaki came in, there were headlines in the Standard that said, talked about Kenyans complaining, I think when he was midterm, and they were saying that life had become appreciably harder under President Kibaki than it had been under Moi. But when we watched the tail end of Kibaki's administration, I mean, we saw a lot of positivity, and today he's celebrated as one of Kenya's best presidents. And so it has been, even with the Kenya Kwanza administration. They came in, of course, under that wave of euphoria, and the mountains voted for this administration to Amman, then there was a fallout. I think within the first couple of years, there was a fallout between the quote-unquote supreme of the mountain at that time and the president, that is William Ruto. And the mountain has been disaffected by that fallout. They have felt aggrieved, they have felt disenfranchised by that fallout. Although from where I sit, that those feelings are largely manufactured. They're largely driven by a narrative, because the truth of the matter is the mountain continues to occupy a very central place in the administration of William Ruto, going even by the number of CSs and technocrats that continue to hold public office from the mountain. So that's a perception, and it's informed by narrative. But now, the things that have made the government unpopular over the last 3 years are beginning to bear fruit. This government came in. When it did come in, the coffers were dry, as the then former deputy president rightly said. The coffers were dry on account of public debt. And for the last 3 years, the government has struggled with the austerity measures. That's fiscal consolidation, amongst other things like taxation, more aggressive taxation, to the detriment of people's pockets. But I keep saying that the government has now gotten its macroeconomics right. Last year I wrote an article in the newspaper and I said that having gotten the macroeconomics of the country right, the government then needed to get the microeconomics right. It needed to put money in people's pockets. And I talked of 3 main things that it needed to do. And the first was to pay pending bills that had been carried over from the last administration. And the second was to engage big-ticket infrastructure projects. Because from these big-ticket infrastructure projects, money flows. And you know, our economy is driven by a lot of by government spending, particularly on development. And the third thing that I talked about was dealing with corruption. Now, right now, as we speak, a lot of contractors have been paid and they've moved back to site because the government has securitized some of the funds that it collects from citizens, specifically the road maintenance levy fund. It has been securitized. Quite a bit of money has been released, has been paid to contractors, they have moved to site, and their money is beginning to circulate. Then, of course, we know that there are big-ticket infrastructure projects that are ongoing as we speak. One of them is the Rironi-Mau Summit Road. The other is the extension of the SGR to Malaba and beyond. The other is, of course, the contract that has been awarded for the building of the extension of Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and the building of a new terminal. And then there are myriad other projects that you can see within the country taking place. Money is beginning to circulate. And I'm not just speaking out of turn. I will refer back to the Stanbic Bank Purchasing Managers Index of last year, towards the tail end of last year, November. For the first time, it registered positivity. For the first time in about 5 or 6 years, it registered positivity. But for the fact that we had this Gulf War that has interrupted that positive tangent, it would have continued registering very impressive growth figures. People are seeing, the mountain is seeing, that it is not just rhetoric. There's actually tangible action behind the rhetoric of the president. And they are now beginning to debunk a lot of the myths that they have been told about the president or about the ruling party, that the president is tribalist, or he just focuses on other parochial issues, or he focuses on corruption for his benefit. They are beginning to see that these are just myths that have been peddled. In fact, talking about corruption, this is the first time that an administration has actually taken very tangible steps, tangible and practical steps to fight corruption. In the last administration, we had all these, what I call flash bang techniques, where you throw a dart grenade and all it does is provide sound, but does not have any other effect. Kamata Fridays, you take 100 people to court, the court can't even process 100 people charged from one charge sheet. You know, it's practically impossible. So at the end of the day, nothing happens, and all these things result in acquittals. Now, this administration has done things quietly when it comes to tackling corruption. First, they've leveraged technology. They have introduced concepts like electronic government procurement, where all procurement is done electronically, where everyone now has people who really need to see what is happening within government have a bird's eye view on whatever is happening. They've also introduced concepts like treasury single account, where the resources now are put in one basket, and avoiding the situations where one arm of government or one ministry has abundant resources and the other does not have, forcing the government to borrow basically to level the playing field. It has also introduced things like accrual accounting and zero-based budgeting. All this within this financial year. So
and you say
people are
this
seeing
maybe
these
could
things.
sway voters not only in Kalou
Yes,
as we head to the general
all
election.
over. The attitudes are changing. I monitor social media quite a bit. For the first 3 years, it was negativity upon negativity. There was absolutely no way you could convince people on social media to give this government a chance, a snowball's chance in hell. There was absolutely no way. Now, the narrative is different. It's still 50-50, but you can see that perceptions are changing, and there's clawback. What the government lost in 2023 is now being clawed back, inch by inch, inch by inch. You know, we have optics, as you rightly said, optics matter in this country. And when you see these big ticket infrastructure projects being rolled out, when you see the highway now to Naivasha and the other through, I think, Maimahiu onward to Nakuru, being built, there are graders on the ground, there is heavy earth-moving equipment, there's movement. When you see these optics, it gives...
Still on the same, allow me to pose this question, picking from what you've talked about and the optics of what we have seen. Looking at social media, looking at the dailies, looking at the television, or even listening to radio, you will hear claims or complaints of government machinery during the by-election. We had the same issue when we had the Mbere North by-elections. We had the same issue come up in regards to government machinery being used. Because the government is the UDA party is backing government, is backing their candidate, the UDA candidate. Have you heard these complaints of the usage of government resources and even staff in the Kalou by-election?
Well, from political parties' point of view, let me start by saying that no official complaint has come.
No official complaint in regards to, because we had, there are some projects we have seen over the last couple of months in Kalou, including the boats, including the gas cylinders, the mattresses. There has not been a complaint in regards to government usage of resources in this by-election.
Yes, but let me also add and say,
yes,
as an office, we administer the political parties fund. And we have quite a number of parties that benefit from this fund. I think in this cycle they've been 47 minus the ANC currently. And one of the uses of political parties fund is to promote representation. It's actually, parties are actually required to use at least 30% of that amount towards promotion of representation, especially of women, PWDs, and youth. And that fund is also allowed to be used to cover election expenses. And in having said that, the parties that, some of the parties that are participating in this by-election are actually beneficiaries of the political parties fund. And so long as they are not using the fund to contravene the code of conduct, either by bribing or by paying members and supporters directly, then the parties are allowed to use the fund for that particular reason. And but having said that, the accountability measures must cut across at all levels. You who has seen that should be able to file a complaint and also give evidence. Because without that, even if the case goes to the various duty bearers, then it will not go anywhere.
Yes. Let's look at still on the same on the fund, because sometimes it could be a little bit difficult to audit this fund. Do we have anybody who audits these funds?
Yes, the political parties are registered as public entities. All of them, those who receive and those who don't receive, because even beyond the fund, there is also the other monies that political parties receive from public, as maybe membership contributions or donations. So all that is regarded as public money. And as a public entity, you are subject to audit by the Office of the Auditor General. So at the end of every year, all the parties that receive funding, all of them are audited. That is usually the first sample, even before the OAG goes to the parties that are not receiving the fund. And once the audit has been done, the registrar comes in terms of looking at the issues that have been raised in every audit report. And where we have an adverse opinion or a disclaimer, those are the worst opinions when it comes to audit, then the registrar withholds the funds until those issues have been resolved between the party and the Office of the Auditor General. So the funds are audited just like any other government or public institution.
The reason I'm asking this is because from the government, from the UDA side, let's say what is happening are the campaigns, they've been funded by the political parties fund, but does it constitute to any political parties malpractice when we see maybe government officials who are supposed to be apolitical spearheading this or championing these projects?
Yes, it does. But we need to draw the difference between the fund and other support that comes outside the fund. Because remember, even way before the spending of this fund is done, the party prepares a work plan and submits that work plan to ORPP. And that work plan is reviewed and accepted before the funds are disbursed. So the fact that there is what you are seeing and what is happening in all Kalou does not necessarily mean that that money is coming from the fund. But as I have rightly put it, for the authorized purpose of the fund, the party is at liberty to use the fund to promote.
Yeah, UDA and Jubilee are one of the biggest parties, and from the campaigns, Leo, we have seen that yes, indeed, they could be using the funds that they have marshaled or some of the funds from the political parties registrar. And I would like to pick your mind in regards to the government officials that we have seen having projects there. Yes, indeed, it's not wrong to have projects there, or any other part of the country for that matter. But some have argued that if it's a government project, it should have been earlier or not during the campaign. And during these campaigns, then government officials, including the public, the principal secretaries or even the cabinet secretaries, should not be seen to be together with the political parties, because these are government officials who are not supposed to be leaning on any political divide.
Ben, I think there was an interpretation, I think, of the law that allowed the cabinet secretaries to advance the president's agenda wherever he wanted, or wherever he wanted development to be focused on. And UDA can argue that the CSS who are on the ground and bringing development to the people of all Kalou are essentially executing the agenda of the president, because they are part of the executive, and the executive has that mandate to bring development to different parts of the country wherever he deems advisable to.
Just a minute, Leo, apologies for that. I'm informed that the NLP candidate, that is Stephen Waithaka Wanyoike, as you can see, he is the one voting at Gashwe Primary School in Kalou. Again, that is the NLP candidate, Stephen Waithaka Wanyoike, casting his ballot at Gashwe Primary School in All Kalou. I don't know whether he'll be issuing a presser after that, but let's wait and see. It's always good to always cover all the 9 candidates. At least we've had a number of them cast their ballots. We are hoping by 12 or by 1 p.m. a number, because 9 is also a large number. Apologies for that, but kindly continue.
Yeah, so Ben, like I was saying, there's that interpretation of the law. I think it was decided in a court of law that CSs are appendages of the executive, and because they are appointees of the executive, they can execute the executive's mandate wherever the executive sends them to. The other way of looking at it is to ask whether the people of Kalou are complaining about the development that they are receiving. Yeah, it's national resources being used to develop national assets within Kalou, and I'm sure if you ask the people of Kalou, they have absolutely no complaint to make. I've not heard a single one of them say we are now saturated with development and we want the government to take their goodies away. I've not heard the people of Mbeere complaining, or anywhere else where by-elections have been had and the government's development agenda has focused. So I think until we get complaints, official complaints.
Yeah. I totally concur, because even Madam Agatha has said that in regards to the same, they have not had any complaints of any political party breaching the political party's code of conduct so far. I'm also looking at what we should be looking at, the lessons that we can borrow from All Kalou so far. Let me just say so far, because the election is still underway. But looking at Banisa, Mbeere North, we've had in West Kabras, we've had in Isiolo. What are some of the lessons we can pick up, and what are some of the challenges as the registrar you observed that we need to be looking at before we head to the big election?
I think as a registrar, I had already talked about the issue of low voter turnout.
Yes.
Which we are liaising with the political parties to help drum up people so that they can come out and vote. Because people listen to their leaders, even more than they listen to institutions at times.
Yeah.
The other thing that I would like to mention is that the issue of enforcement, compliance and enforcement to the code of conduct has been a challenge, mainly because of the things we are talking about, lack of official complaints and lack of evidence. And I think it is the high time that Kenyans knew their roles and their responsibilities when it comes to elections, so that if there are such malpractices, then people need not fear to come out and report them, so that corrective action can be taken on time. And thirdly, when it comes to political parties, and more so as we go towards the general election, we might have all the 98 registered political parties participating, which is a jump from the 9 that are participating today. And it is important for parties to speak to each other, either through the political parties forum or even within the parties themselves, so that they can see each other as Kenyans by the end of the day and fully understand that this is a competition that must have a winner and a loser, and Kenya will remain one even as we go forward. So I think those are some of the lessons I can be able to pick, and they have really worked well within the by-elections, and we hope that even as we continue convening these forums, they are even going to have more impact as we go towards the general election. Yeah.
And I believe you wanted to add something. I believe we were talking about peace. Everybody's talking about peace from the county, from the regional commissioner. Yesterday we did speak to the county commissioner Jardesa. I believe you also IEBC in the morning. Yesterday we've only been talking about peace. What role should political parties play in ensuring there is peace, especially during elections? Not only in All Kalou, but as we head to 2027?
I think I would like to take us back to our constitution Article 4 talks about Kenya being a multi-party state, but it also talks about operating within the principles and values as set out in the Article 10 of the Constitution. Mm-hmm. And when you look at Article 10, it has all the good values. It has matters democracy, matters accountability, it talks about integrity, it talks about devolution, all the good things that Kenyans have decided to give themselves in the Constitution. And if you are able to actually live the values as stipulated in Article 10 of the Constitution, then I think we'll have a safe space for our politics and a peaceful environment, so that we are able to, politics become an issue of social development, not something to divide us, not something to bring violence, not something to bring the vices of bribery and corruption.
Allow us to now head back to Ol Kalou just to have a feel. I'm informed that at Gasho Primary School, the NLP candidate is Stephen Wanyuike is currently addressing the press. Let's listen in.
Naambia wakazi wa Kalou waendelee na that spirit, waendelee kujitokeza to cast those votes, and all rumor that kuna watu wamedeviate. Personally, I'm still in the ballot. Nilikuwa nimesikia rumor somewhere that I joined this DCP's whatever. That is something hatujamaji na wao. We are not collaborating. So my voters, mahali wote wako, kama hujatokea nyumbani, it's time when to express your vote, or express your democratic right and cast your vote. Thank you.
How was the process inside?
The process was smooth. At least nimefurahia the way they are verifying. So I can congratulate IBC. Unless kukuwe na any other shenanigans after tumeweka votes zetu, the process imenifurahisha. Venye unaingia, unaverifyiwa your ID, then biometrically unaangaliwa that you are in the BVR, and then not the register, the booth. Niambie my followers, the booth is very safe. Kulikuwa na rumors, watu wengine walikuwa wanauziwa uoga, sijui alikula pesa kwa hoteli na nini, so they should be careful. Kutawekwa CCTV. It's very safe. As a follower wa Stephen Wanyika Idhaka, usikuwe na wasiwasi.
That is NLP candidate Stephen Waithaka Wanyuike saying that the process has been seamless, and he has commended IEBC. That's something that we also need to be looking at in regards to having faith and believing in our institutions. But Leo, allow me to point out this. Again, I'll leverage on the Mbeere North by-election. The economy of Mbeere North on that day, and especially for the Chicago market, which is just almost where we were, the main tallying center was, is really affected by elections and general election as well. We have seen during general election some of investors pull out, some of them scale down their businesses. How can we ensure that election just become just like any routine day, just like taking your kid back to school, no drama, no businesses closing? How far does it affect our economy?
I think it's a work in progress. Agatha has talked about civic education.
Yeah.
A lot of these perceptions of violence and hooliganism and the likes are perceptions that are in the minds of people. A lot of them are narratives also that are advanced by contenders, basically to either malign other candidates or to lure people to their side. If we take care of these perceptions, if we take care of these manufactured images in people's minds, then elections just become routine. But again, to your point and what we just had a few minutes ago, IEBC has actually proved that they can conduct free, fair, and credible elections. The new IEBC, because we have to make a note of the fact that these commissioners have been in office for about a year. And in that 1 year, they've conducted 32 by-elections. Of the 32 by-elections that they've conducted, I think only 2 have been appealed. And of the 2 that have been appealed, none of the appeals has been successful. So it speaks a lot about IEBC I think, as you said, we should have now confidence in our institutions. When we have confidence that our institutions are getting it right, then we approach elections as a matter of routine. There is no fear. Agatha also talked about the fact that by-elections are hotly contested. There's a lot of focus, national focus on just one position. But when it comes to national elections, you have elections carried out simultaneously across various levels of representation, right from the MCA all the way to the president. So the spectre of violence, even if it is manufactured by detractors of the process, does not have much sway in the people, because everyone is so busy, everyone is extremely busy looking out for their own positions across the entire 290 constituencies. So I think we're in a good place. I'll also just add and say that where there has been sporadic, where there has been episodic evidence, the multi-sector agencies that I talked about earlier can now come to work together. Agatha's office included, the DCI, that is the IG or the DCI and all his investigative agencies, the ESCC, IEBC itself, IPOA. They can all come in, work together to ensure that these things are done away with once and for all.
Allow me to mention something in regards to our institutions, and you will guide us in regards to that. More specifically, our electoral body. Not the new IEBC, but let's just go down memory lane in 2007, into all those elections from the likes of when it was ECK, Kivuito, we had Chisoni, we had Isaac Hassan, and we had Chebukati. IEBC has not had quite the confidence that Kenyans should be having based on what we've seen, based on the numerous election petitions that we've had, based on the violence that also we've had. How much confidence should we be putting on our electoral bodies? Because, as you said, it's a multi-sectoral approach. With the registrar of political parties, we have ABC, we have DCI, and we have the voters as well.
For me, I would want to look at it from a positive perspective. And I would like to challenge us as Kenyans to look at other electoral systems, to look at how political processes are conducted in other countries across the globe, and see how far we are in comparison. Because if you ask me, we have a very good constitution that have given us political rights. When you look at the office of the registrar of political parties, in Africa we only have 3 independent political regulators. Most of the others are either within the electoral management body or within another government institution. When it comes to IEBC, which is the electoral body, I don't think there is any country in this world that conducts 6 elections in one day, with all the challenges that we have, and
also the cost.
And the cost, and is able to deliver the results. So I think it is the high time Kenyans trusted their institutions, but also be a part of trusting the institution should come from civic education. If you are, for example, interested in politics, you should know what the office of the registrar does, you should know what IBC does, you should understand it so that you can also become a good ambassador of explaining to others out there how these processes are done. Otherwise, I think our political institutions are doing a good job. There may be areas of improvement here and there, but Kenyans should trust that they have the best.
Leo, my director informs me that we have about 5 minutes, so I'm going to give you a minute or two for your closing statements.
Ben, I'm looking forward to the results this evening. We want to see, so far the voting has been conducted peacefully. I'm not surprised though. I think there's been a lot of preparation to ensure that everything runs peacefully. For me, from where I sit again, it's a contest between 2 of the 3 parties involved, and for the supremacy, a supremacy contest for the heart and soul of Mount Kenya. UDA is just a bystander. If UDA does win, it will be another feather in their cap. But whichever one of the two who comes second and third, if they do come second and third, it will prove then who has the upper hand in Mount Kenya.
You did mention if UDA wins. What if it doesn't clinch this seat? Does it water down its influence on Mount Kenya?
No, not at all. Okay, in Mount Kenya, yes, Mount Kenya is, so to speak, more or less under the ambit of these other two parties, Jubilee and DCP. That has been accepted, at least for the last 3 years. And I think from where UDA sits, it is prepared to go into next year's elections, even without the support of the mountain. But as a responsible political outfit, it will not want to leave anything to chance, and it is working at winning, clawing back the ground that it has lost over the last 3 years. So for them, if they lose right now, it's not too big of a deal for them, because out of the last 32 elections that they've held, they've won, I think, more than 95% of them. And it is expected that this being a being a Jubilee stronghold, they come in as the underdogs. If they register positively, if they become second, or if they win, then it means that whatever they've been trying to do to claw back the territory that they had lost to Mount Kenya is working.
Yeah. Agatha, for your closing statements?
I would like to say that the constitution that we give ourselves give us a right to participate in political party processes, to join, to form, or to participate in forming, and to actively participate within all the processes of parties. And because this country belongs to all of us, I would like to urge Kenyans not just to wait for the election period, but to join political parties, to understand what...
And especially the young people.
And especially the young people, even the old. Actually, all people. I would urge you to join political parties, to learn what the political parties that you are joining present or propagate, and actively participate. So that by the time the leaders are coming from the political parties, we are very, very sure that what goes to IEBC is going to represent the kind of leaders that we want.
A very quick one. We have nine candidates there, but how many political parties are registered as of today?
Fully registered political parties are 98.
98.
And we have about 30 or thereabout that are in provisional registration.
Provisional?
Yes. But only the fully registered will participate in the election when that time comes. Yeah.
So the 30 plus should also pull up their socks and try and for...
Yeah, if all the 30 manage to pull through the full registration, then they will all be participating. And maybe I can also say that politics should not be used to divide us, but they should be used to strengthen us and to promote social development. Thank you.
That has been CPA Madam Agatha Wahome, who is the Assistant Registrar of Political Parties in the country. And just next to her, we have Leonard Kafafa, a geopolitical analyst, a public policy analyst, an author, a writer, an aviation expert. Well, the list is endless. Many thanks indeed for joining us, and thank you so much for your time. But we are not leaving. We are here for 24 hours today, and we are keeping tabs with what is happening in all Kalou.